Hi guys, welcome back to Third Stall Garage. My name is Doug. This is the channel about the restoration of a 66 Mustang convertible called VIN. This is part 7 of the series. If you haven't watched the first 6, I encourage you to go back and watch those. There was a lot about deconstruction and getting the car to the point where we get to start rebuilding it again. And I am very excited about that. Tonight's gonna be about swapping the VIN and how I handled that. Stay tuned for more. So here's where I am with the car. The firewall is out, the cowl is out, and these pieces are called the front apron, side panels, and all of those are out. This is the original piece, and in the front driver apron piece is the VIN number. And here you can see the VIN number on mine. The fender sits right here, and so this is a visible VIN number. On the other side, in the passenger back or right apron, is the hidden VIN. It's the exact same VIN number stamped on the apron, except that this one is covered by the fender, whereas that one is visible. So Ford put 2 of them on there. To my knowledge, those are the only 2 that are in the car. Now, I decided to replace both of my apron panels because they weren't in good shape. Watch some of the previous videos and you can see how I removed them and some of the poor repairs that were done before. What I would like to do, to the best of my ability, is return these back to as much of stock looking as I can get. So what I want to do, and I'm gonna plan on starting tonight, is I'm gonna cut these VIN numbers out on both sides, and then I will cut out a similar patch on my replacement panel, weld that in, blend it on the top, blend it on the bottom, and try to get it as smooth as I can. Now, I know some will react and go, you can't do that, it's illegal, you're swapping VIN numbers. There are some out there that think that. There are others that believe that if you're documenting it, the rest of my car is fairly original. You know, it's not like I'm taking a VIN number and swapping it onto a completely different car. And I will be honest about that if I ever decide to sell this car down the road, and am documenting it through this video and through pictures as well. So follow along as we cut these out and begin patching them in. So I got the VIN number out. You can see it here. Didn't necessarily do the perfect straightest job cutting this out. You can see this is a little bit curved. So now I will just kind of straighten these edges up. I will transfer them over to the new piece and then cut that out with kind of almost as tight of a gap around the outside as I can get. I'm going to try to do that, clamp it in flat, and I'll show you what that looks like. There are other methods out there where you lay it on top, tack weld it in, and then after it's tack welded in, you begin cutting down the side on an angle, flex it, and then re-weld it. Fitzy's Fabrication on YouTube has a lot of great videos on that. I'll probably try that one maybe on the next one or on a different piece in the future, but I'd like to take this one just real slow and get it as nice looking as I can. So I'm gonna straighten this up, then cut out the patch and start test fitting it. And I'll just take my time and leave a little extra material on there so I can always grind a bit more off so I don't get myself in a situation where I run out of material. All right, so the old piece is cut out. Here's where it goes on the new piece. I'm simply gonna put it on there, trace it with a Sharpie, and then I'll cut the old piece out. By the way, this area right here is a new kind of grinding, cutting, welding area in the third stall garage. I put some boards on the back and on the right-hand side so that when the bench grinder throws grit and dust or I'm grinding things, it will stay a little bit more contained in the shop. Put a shop light above it to keep it nice and bright. We'll see how that works. It's a little bit tight, so I got room to kind of grind it down and get it to fit a bit. Hi, so now the piece is fitting fairly well. I've got a nice, even, fairly small gap around the outside. Edges fit fairly well. You can see that the stock piece is a little bit longer on this flange than the replacement part piece. So I think after I'm done, I will just grind this smooth and blend it together. I also need to take the primer off for welding yet. And there's a couple different ways that I can hold this in place. I could put a vice grip clamp on there, use some small magnets, which I have right now. I also have some welding butt clamps, which is always funny to say. Let me put those on and show you what it looks like. Here's a picture of what the butt clamp looks like. On the underside, there's a flat blade. Where's my finger? There's my finger. There's a flat blade that sticks through the crack, and then there's a little bar that goes through it. Does a good job of mounting it nice and firmly. It does force you to have a gap in there, which you may or may not want, depending on what you like for welding. A little bit time consuming to get it done. The other thing you could do is you could try to just hold it with your fingers and spot weld it in, tack weld it in from there. A couple thoughts about cleaning it up. Having a clean edge on both sides for a good weld is really critical. Well, what you want to be careful not to do as you clean this up, for example, I need to clean the primer off of mine. You don't want to grind a lot of material off there, because if, exaggerate, if the material is this thick, and I grind it down to this thin, I might take it from like an 18 gauge down to a 22 gauge, which is going to cause it to be a lot easier to overheat it and blow through when you're welding it. So just be real gentle and careful when you clean up the paint on both sides. I have yet to figure out whether I'll use a butt clamp or a magnet. Got to figure that out yet. Okay, so I started tack welding it in. You can see I used 2 butt clamps, my welding clamp here, and just put a couple tack welds in. On the edge here, I have a little bit of a larger gap than I would have liked. My first one, I'll be honest with you, I got way too hot and it blew right through. Got better as we went along. So now it's tacked in. I'm going to take the butt clamps out and then work on just slowly adding more tacks all the way around, working on slowly filling it in. All right, so I have the first row of welds ground down. A couple things have gone well. There's not too many spots where there's pockets, so that's good. I've got a few little air pockets that I need to weld up again, and a little valley right here and a little valley right here. So I can tack weld those in or weld those in and then regrind again. Couple things that I could have done better. I don't think this piece was as flat and smooth as it should have been. This new piece is, almost perfectly flat, and this has just got some contours to it. Maybe I should have flattened that out with a hammer and dolly a little bit more. Might still be able to do that. The other part of it that's different is just the texture of this piece is a little bit different. But I think with primer and paint on that, that will fill in some as well. So I'm gonna work on tack welding a few of these holes and regrinding, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I finished welding and blending it. Sorry, the furnace is on in the background, it's a little loud. Overall, we're all happy with the way that it came out. The texture of the metal is slightly different here than in the new, but I'm real happy with it. Things to do yet. My edge line here doesn't quite match, so I will blend that in. Hold on a second. Here's the original piece. Obviously it was sat a little lower than that, but so I will blend that in. Then the remaining task has to do with the underside. So here's the back side of the VIN. So I'll smooth this edge down. Then what I think I'm gonna do is use my belt drive sander, clean up these edges and see what it looks like. And then I'll make a determination of whether I have a lot of pinholes that I wanna weld up or whether I just leave it the way it is. What I'm struggling with is I realize that nobody's hardly ever going to see this. So how much work and effort do I put into making it look nice? So I think I will lightly sand it down, see what it looks like, and then make a determination from there. So this is a Dynacorn panel. I think this bracket here is the back side of the headlight assembly. What I've seen in a lot of other videos is that this piece might need to get adjusted. If so, I'll have to take out those spot welds. Small little bend in the shipping, just no big deal. Overall, fairly happy with the product from Dynacorn. Not completely impressed with this part of it. I don't know if you can see, there's a pretty big lip right there where they just mushed that down. But it is what it is. The Dynacorn, I'm glad I at least spent the money for that. All right, so I'll work on the back side of this and we'll let you know how it looks. So here's the finished product. I cleaned this up. Did not weld any of it. That's just the weld from the previous side, and knowing that this will be the bottom of the side that nobody sees, I feel good about how the top turned out, and I'm gonna call that good enough, and I'm gonna go on to the next one, and I'll show you the finished product on that, because it'll be the same steps all the way along. All right, so this wraps up episode 7 of the restoration of VIN and the changing of the VIN numbers. Again, VIN is not, the nickname of the car comes from the book series Mistborn. One of my favorite characters in that book series was a woman named VIN. Let me show you the final product here and what's coming up next. All right, so the front left apron panel. Here's the VIN number here. This is the one that is visible. I think once this is painted, primered, painted, it will look great. I'm not trying to hide that it's visible, that it was welded. Here's the hidden one. Looks pretty good. Underside, once painted, you'll be able to tell that it was welded in, but I think for majority of people just enjoying the car, you will not notice that anything is different. All right, so next on Third Style Garage, episode 8, will be the beginning of the installation of the firewall. I am super excited for that. This is so nice to actually be working on construction again. Firewall will go in here. The challenges are that I no longer can get it underneath the floor pan on either side. It's gonna have to sit on top. And then I will be able to start piecing all of the panels together. The one piece I am missing is one of these kick plates, and hopefully that will come in soon and I can start reassembly. Thanks for watching. Please share, click subscribe, tell your aunt about it. Make a comment below and stay tuned for more. Have a great day.